Hello, everybody, and welcome to Monaghan Presbyterian Church. We are delighted to have you with us. This is Lincoln.
This is Janice, and we are thrilled to be able to share with you today in the story of Peter and Cornelius.
Mm-hmm.
And for those keeping track, we have outdoor worship coming up, well, on the 6th. So if you're getting this, you're either on your way or you've already been, or you weren't coming, which is fine too. And then on the 13th, we have outdoor, and we are trying an indoor service, but please make sure you see all the guidelines to that, and reservations are required. And on the 20th, we are outdoors as well. So there are many opportunities to worship coming up.
Not just listening to our melodious voices.
That's true. Though I think we get in pretty good, pretty in depth in these scriptures, and I hope people are joining us in that engagement. Yeah. It's a different way to engage in the passage, and I think I have found it fruitful. So today we are looking at Acts chapter 10. We made it to chapter 10.
I know. I was very excited.
And we're going to do it in 2 chunks. So we're doing 1 through 33 this week.
Mm-hmm. It's always good when you get to the double-digit chapter numbers in a book of the Bible.
And I know. It makes you feel like you're making progress.
Mm-hmm.
And we are making progress. I don't even remember. When did we start Acts? Was it the end of May?
I think so.
So, for a summer series for me, this is probably going to be the longest one ever.
Mm-hmm.
Summer may never end.
Well, for some people, that would be okay.
Yes. Especially this year.
Mm-hmm.
Especially this year. So here we are. We are hanging out with Peter and Cornelius.
Yeah, we meet Cornelius, who is a centurion in the Roman army.
Remind everybody what that actually means. Just a soldier?
He's in charge of foot soldiers in a garrison.
He's got a group of guys under his command.
Caesarea.
And he seems like he is beloved.
Yeah.
By everybody. He seems like he is just a genuinely good guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he is struggling, it seems.
Yeah.
Or he's seeking something, but he doesn't necessarily know what it is.
Yeah, I think it's something that a lot of us probably fall into at some points, if not many points in our lives, where you feel like you're doing all the right things, hitting all the right buttons, but there's just still something that's still beyond where you're at, and you're not quite sure how to take that next step.
I gotta be honest, the pandemic to me feels that way. Like I'm fairly confident there is life after the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
but it just seems to be continues to get farther and farther away. It's like that's that vantage point on the horizon, and you think it's might just be over that next little hump, but it's not. It's farther away.
Oh, see, that's much more optimistic than what I thought. I thought of the donkey with the carrot out in front of that you just kind of keep going and going, and you never reach it.
No, because I feel like if it is a donkey with a carrot, the stick just keeps getting longer too. That's where you think you're getting closer, but you're not even getting closer to the carrot. But there's still hope. I'm not giving up hope. He's going to get the carrot, but
yeah, absolutely. We all need carrots.
But that journey, I feel like not knowing how to navigate these waters, not necessarily knowing what the best answer is or the best solution.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen that with schools, and I'm sure educators and administrators are feeling that same way of, I know there's the right path, but I'm not entirely sure how to get there or how to stay on it.
Right.
So, I feel like church that way too. Yes. Trying to figure out how to worship in these circumstances and navigating that road. You try to get good counsel and wisdom and guidance and answers. And that kind of feels like what Cornelius is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it feels like he kind of knows where he wants to end up, but he doesn't know how to get there.
Yeah.
And so he's seeking answers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty cool. He prays. And he will get help, but we can't get to his help until we talk about Peter.
Yeah, so Cornelius sees a vision. And in the vision, he's supposed to send his staff to go find Simon, who is called Peter, who is staying with Simon, who is not called Peter. There are a lot of Simons in the New Testament. I'm just going to say.
It's a little confusing. I feel like we need to put up a chart in here just for everybody in Acts so far and keep track of where everybody is. We should have done that.
Ooh.
We can still do that. We can make up the last 10 chapters, right?
I don't have time for that.
I don't really either. But I think it would be really helpful to have it right here on this wall.
Yeah.
Just start getting Sharpies out.
Don't tell anybody we're using Sharpies on painted walls. In
if you're listening, don't tell. We used to have a bulletin board in here. Anyway.
So he sends his servants to
Simon's house to get Peter, also known as Simon.
Yes. So
I got it.
Now we flip over to
Peter, who's also known as Simon.
In Simon's house.
Who's on first? Anyway. So while in Simon's house, we have Peter, who's about to start, teaching and preaching, and he gets a little hungry. And while they're off getting him food, he's up on the roof because it's the cool place to hang out. There would have been a fence around that roof.
Yeah.
That's Old Testament law to have a fence around your roof.
Yes.
And he fell into a trance and also had a vision.
Yes.
His was a little bit stranger than Cornelius's.
His was very strange indeed.
You can tell he was hungry.
Maybe that was part of it, but I think just the delivery was very unique.
You mean you don't randomly have white cloths dropping with food in front of you?
Well, I think that there's, as we'll probably get to in a little while, there's more to it than just the idea of food. Like, this seems like a very, I don't know, I don't even know what the word is.
Facebook status complicated?
There's there's meaning
In the meaning.
There's
in the
deeper
meaning.
meaning than just what you see. Whereas a lot of the other visions, like Cornelius is hey, send your guys to find this other guy in the city.
Yes, but this is Peter. And Peter never does things the easy way.
True.
So it would make sense that his trance would be something he would have to work to understand. That's the kind of learner I think Peter is. He needs to trial by error, figure it out.
He needs to work for it.
Yeah. It just doesn't arrive. He's got to put the pieces together. You can almost see his mind after this being like, okay, let's see what you got in store. Like, yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. So this cloth of animals, food falls before him, and he's told to eat.
Yeah, kill the animals and eat. But the sheet just happens to be full of
unclean animals.
Unclean animals. Animals that, according to...
Well, no, we have to ask everybody. So what does an unclean animal mean? Does that mean it hasn't been prepped to eat yet? Is that too dumb of a question?
No, I was going to answer the question.
Okay, I'm ready.
According to Jewish law, there's a variety of animals who are considered unclean that you may not eat. There are a lot of other rules about, multiple parts of the same animal and stuff like that. But
yeah, the book of Leviticus has a lot of rules and laws concerning food. And a lot of them make sense if you understand how food preparation works and understand the lack of, refrigeration and the supply of goods. A lot of it is to keep you from getting sick and also to making sure you don't destroy your food source and your clothing sources and such like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of rules about what kind of animals to eat. And a lot of that comes down to do they eat grass or do they eat animals?
That's one of the big ones.
Yeah. And as you go through the laws even more, you realize that's kind of the breakdown for a lot of it. Do they eat something that might have been eating something yucky before that?
Mm-hmm.
Or did they eat an animal that was unclean?
Right.
So a lot of the laws about unclean come down to simply what did the animal eat? And could that get you sick?
Right.
We've talked a little bit about a show that I binge watched a season of recently called Alone, in which these people are literally dropped off in random places and have to survive. And the season I watched was up in the Arctic. And...
Northern British Columbia, yeah.
Okay. You know more what I watch than I do.
Mm-hmm.
And it really goes through how to make sure that you don't get sick from what you're eating. Mm-hmm. So even if it's a fresh kill, make sure when you've got the stomach and all that, bacteria and stuff doesn't end up on all the meat and things like that. And making sure a fish hasn't maybe eaten a fish that was in something it shouldn't have been. Mm-hmm. And there's just a lot of rules to make sure you don't get sick and die.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the laws in Leviticus around food are so you don't get sick and die. Like no shellfish. Which if you're in the desert wandering around.
Not likely to find much shellfish.
And if you brought it with you, you probably shouldn't eat it. A lot of food poisoning.
Yeah.
And digestive issues. And not consuming two parts of the same animal, you're going to hurt your food supply if you're doing that. So that's, but Peter's looking at it simply as these are animals I'm not supposed to eat.
Yes. I have learned over many years, I
know
do
the
not
law.
Eat these. Yes. He knows the law. These are unclean. I cannot eat unclean things. And then God's response to Peter is...
if I made it, it's not unclean. Or if I say it's not unclean, it's not unclean.
Yeah. If God says it's clean, then who are we to say it's unclean?
Yeah, that will work with God. But like if your kid says like a dish is clean and it's not clean, you know what I'm saying?
Do you
What?
sometimes get your children and God mixed up?
No, but I was
in their minds, they might get themselves and God mixed up, but I never have that problem.
No, I think my kids have just learned that if they do a bad job, I won't ask them to do it again. Kind of more where I was going with that. Dishes, not their forte. And now I'm going to get, ways to teach my kids how to do the dishes right. I got a lot of comments about making beds last week.
Wow, nice.
Got a lot of comments.
Cool.
You had some supporters.
Okay.
Yeah. I still advocate for team make bed, but whatever. Whatever makes you comfortable unless you sleep at night.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to what we were saying.
So the takeaway for Peter and this enormous sheet of unclean but clean animals was that he should not judge something that God has done.
He should judge something God has made.
Yeah.
And
then is told, hey, there's some guys coming to look for you. Mm-hmm. Go with them. Don't ask questions. Go with them.
Yeah, no context given. Just go.
Yeah.
He's got to know this is part of the puzzle. Like, this is the next piece in this puzzle, figuring out what's going on here.
But yeah, again, it's that all in that, these stories seem to be showing. It's like, hey, go get in that guy's chariot.
Right?
Like, hey,
go to this guy's house.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, it's illegal for you to be there. But as I just said, laws are meant to be broken, apparently.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, man. Whew, I'm going to get in trouble for this week's.
Depends on whose laws they are.
Exactly. So Peter goes to Cornelius's. Mm-hmm. And he kind of tells Cornelius right out, like, it's against the law for me to be here. Mm-hmm. What do you want with me? I am not supposed to be mixing with Gentiles. And we can already see that context coming out to play. I'm not supposed to eat unclean animals.
Right.
It's against the law for me to do that. It's against the law for me to be talking to you, to be in your presence in this way. Mm-hmm. And yet I'm here. So what do you want? He's a little bit nicer than I am, but
right. But then, Cornelius says, I had this vision. They said, I should ask you to come here.
And you did. So you tell me what to do now.
Mm-hmm. And that's next week.
And that's next week. Yeah. This is we're leaving you with a cliffhanger. So we get Peter to Cornelius's house. There's too much to cover in 1 week. We wanted to.
Yeah. Because I think it shouldn't be lost. And, we brought this up, I think, numerous times in various contexts so far in our journey through Acts. But, it's the idea that, yes, according to the law, Peter should not be there. But God has cleansed Cornelius, at least for this purpose. Or that is what Peter is supposed to take away from that interaction. That
I think
he's not, it's not unlawful because God has made it so.
I think it even goes further than that, maybe, in that, if you compare it to the animals, God made them. So God also made the Gentiles. Like that should make Peter maybe quiver a little bit there. And, whatever God has made, let nobody call ungood. Mm-hmm. That kind of idea. Going, and echoing Jesus a little bit there. I don't have enemies.
Yeah.
I need to love them. I need to meet them where they are, hear their story. Jesus is constantly breaking down those barriers between men and women and people from different countries and different places. He was constantly doing that. Mm-hmm. And so far as the gospel has spread, it's gone into friendly territory for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had Philip meeting, the Ethiopian, which would have been on unfamiliar ground there, but
The Ethiopians seem to be pretty keyed into the Jewish faith and Jewish tradition.
he was studying.
Have been in Jerusalem studying. So
there's definitely some connections, though, to him and Cornelius, that desire to understand, to know more, to figure this out. There was a seed that was already planted that needed to be nurtured. And so Peter is there to nurture Cornelius' seed, but also to learn a lesson himself about how big this church that's being built upon him will be.
Yeah.
He has no idea yet, but it will be much bigger than he can imagine.
Mm-hmm. And when this is one of those times when, when Peter meets Cornelius, I, hear in my head the, tenet of don't judge lest you be judged more harshly sort of concept. And it's like, that seems to be a fairly clear message in the early church.
Mm-hmm. Love others as you yourself are loved. Think about all the love Peter needed in order to learn that. Mm-hmm. And now he's got to do the same. He's got to love on others, break down any preconceived notions, starting with food and moving on to people. And we'll get more into, their actual conversation, because it gets pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
Got a few more verses to go. So can we take from this exchange that it's okay to break the law sometimes?
It depends on... I'm going to do a callback to your buddy, Gamaliel.
Oh, you said his name. Gamma's back.
If the law is of God, you should not break it. If it is of man, then maybe. We'll see.
Nice.
Yeah, you like that?
That was well done. We had to pull that out.
Mm-hmm. See, I have to listen now
right?
In this format, because if I was sitting out there...
There's no way.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is everybody who ever sits in a pew or out in a chair should come and do this. So they really have to be hyper-focused. Yeah.
So instead of doing Sunday morning service, just do this with everybody every week.
No. No. That would be fun. Maybe once the time. That would be great. If anybody wants to come in and there's room, we could put another person in here probably safely and still be distanced. Mm-hmm. So if you ever want to come into one of these chats, let us know. That could be fun. Mm-hmm. See if we can mix it up a little bit. Yeah, if the law is of God versus if the law is of man. The laws of man are usually put into place to hurt other men.
But it's interesting because it's like, even then, some of these laws are of God. It's like the Old Testament God versus the New Testament, New Covenant.
Yes, but the
God.
Context within Old Testament law, most of them make sense if you actually understand what they're trying to protect against. But there's some, when it comes to property and ownership and things like that get a little more like feeling.
Yeah.
More similar to today's. So yeah, I get that. Mm-hmm. But the main laws from God are love God, love nobody other above God, no idols, keep the Sabbath, don't take God's name in vain, honor your elders, and don't cheat, don't lie, don't steal, don't want.
Yeah, don't covet.
Missing something.
Don't murder.
I always miss one.
It's like the 7 dwarves.
Oh, I can always get them. I feel like I'm missing one, though.
I think you are, but it's okay.
Well, you're not catching it either.
I wasn't paying attention.
Fair enough. So
You'll get comments. It's fine.
if you realize which commandment I left out, feel free to comment in some form. But remember that all 10 boil down to 2. Love God with all that you are and love one another.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. They all boil down to 2. And really, if you're doing the first, if you're loving God with all that you are, you're going to be loving everybody else too. Because to hurt somebody is to hurt God.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. There's the beginning to the story of Peter and Cornelius.
Yep.
And that seems like a good place to stop.
All right.
All right. You know, I'm gonna use the prayer at the end of this week's materials.
Okay.
So if you want to follow along, you don't have it. I have it actually on paper. That's very unusual for me. Let's pray. God, help us to see everyone as an image of your love reflected back at us. Guide us to loving more fully and seeing more clearly the areas that we are called to bring light into. Help us, O God, to be a reflection of your love every moment of our lives. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and we'll talk to you or see you soon.
Yeah. Outdoor worship, indoor worship. It's all
Mask
coming up.
required, distancing maintained.
Yep. There are dots.
There are dots on the ground, yes.
So if you come, that will make much more sense.
Yes, there are spacing dots. There's hand sanitizing station. There are masks just in case you forgot yours.
Mm-hmm.
And there are pew pods inside.
Yep.
But if you're outside, you have to bring a chair or a blanket.
Mm-hmm.
So that's... And you have to reserve your spot if you're indoors.
Yes.
We need to know if you're coming. So if you have not done that yet, please email me and let me know or call so that I can make sure there is a pew pod for you. Mm-hmm. We're about half right now.
Yep.
So there are still spots. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.